We understood back in the day that you can grow to love somebody. You spend enough time with somebody, you're going to start to like them. You spend enough time with somebody, you're going to start to like them. And so now that we live in a society where everything is coddled and people are choosing for themselves, and they swiping left and they swiping right, and that is the determining factor for whether or not you're gonna sleep with somebody. Women don't have to be virgins anymore. You're not even the first person to break her hymen, right? These women shouldn't even be wearing white dresses anymore. Why would you put a white dress that signals that a woman is pure, right? That no man has ever entered her. Her vagina is broken. She's had a train ran on her in these indoctrination camps in college. And then we're supposed to value her the same way that we valued women traditionally back in the day. That doesn't make any sense, right? We're applying traditional values to people and women and standards that no longer exist. It is now a norm for somebody to get married to somebody that is no longer a virgin. How can we then apply the same standards, let alone the same requirements for what it is that you're supposed to do in your household? How can we apply the same standards when there no longer is a standard or a barrier to entry by which you decide that you're going to get married other than the fact that you like the person? So all you got to do is like them, and that's the determining factor for whether or not you get married. She can go and sleep with as many men and women as she wants, right? You ain't even just got to sleep with men. You can sleep with men. You can sleep with women. You can sleep with anything, right? Now y'all got a label for it that y'all can just, whatever love looks like to you is what it is that you sleep with. And then at the end of that journey, you decide, okay, you know what? I've soyed my royal oats, right? And now I just want to go ahead and give the rest of me, not the best of me. I want to give the rest of me over to whoever this sapsucker is that's supposed to take me in, and he's just supposed to marry you, and that's the end of the conversation. And you think, as a woman, you're supposed to be valued the same way that women traditionally were valued? When back in the day, traditionally, at a time where we established what being married really meant, right? Back then, it was a privilege. It was a ceremony. It was to be celebrated. Men were happy to give their daughters over into a man that was all, bro. It's wild. It's absolutely insane. Now you can go and get fucked on by as many people as you possibly can. And it doesn't even matter. Listen, not only were you supposed to be a virgin, the difference is if you decide to even have a conversation about how many men this woman slept with, you are a fuckboy. Do you see how perverted this whole society has become? If you want to have a conversation about how many men your woman, potential wife, now you got to be with this woman for the rest of your life, right? You're taking an oath before God till death do us part in sickness and in health. And if you possibly even broach the conversation of how many bodies that she had, all of a sudden you disrespectful and you a fuckboy. Think about that for a minute. You're supposed to only have eyes and open your legs to the person that give you his last name. But now we live in a society where you can't even ask a woman how many bodies she got. Okay. But see, this is another reason why I say that if you do get married, because I do think that there's a formula for what being successfully married looks like. If you do get married, I think that you should get married as young as possible. When you poor, you don't have nothing, you build in with each other and you add in value into each other's lives. And then on top of that, right, you have the opportunity to prevent her from being for the streets. That way, you're not the last person in line to pick up the pieces, and you're not marrying a single baby mama, because let's be clear, it is an epidemic of single women that decide to have kids out of wedlock. And I am absolutely positively in favor of holding women accountable for having kids out of wedlock. 100%. I am 100% in agreement with holding women accountable that want to be respected in the same light as a woman that has held herself back and did the responsible thing and didn't make herself available for every Tom, Dick, and Harry, right? That did not let a dude skeet in her, that said that he loved her but didn't give him his last name. I am 100% in agreement with holding women accountable that decide to have kids out of wedlock, especially if you have multiple baby daddies. Oh, I think that you should absolutely be wearing a scarlet letter. I think that you should be wearing a scarlet letter. 100%. I believe that you should be marked with a scarlet letter to identify the egregiousness that you are doing in raising a child out of wedlock, understanding that you know that they're going to be behind the eight ball, because we live in a society today where we have statistics to show exactly what your child is going to possibly end up like, considering that they're being raised out of wedlock in a home, right, in which there is no father, or you have to co-parent. It is not the same as being raised in a household where there's two parents that is married. And then we want to start to have a conversation about what's best for the community, and you can't even fix your own household? How? How can we have a conversation about what's best for the community when we can't even get women to close their legs long enough to actually be valued by the men that they potentially want to marry them? Because we now, according to feminists and the standards that we set in society, and the new Biden ad that advocated that you can't control who people love. You can't control who people love. Think about this for a minute. Biden just released a re-election ad that said you should not be able to control who you love. Meaning you can sleep and do whatever it is that you want to do, right? Think about that for a minute. Yet we know for a fact that a child is much more likely to go to jail, have trauma, need therapy, join a gang, right? We know that they are less likely to be successful if they are born in a broken household. And we know that women have just as many rights, if not more, because they are still coddled and they get all of the benefits of being a woman, despite the fact that they are labeled as equal, right? And you cannot tell a woman, a single woman, what to do. You can't. You cannot control her. You cannot determine where it is that she's going to go and where she's not going to go. And the difference, and let me tell you why it's so important and why we harp on the idea that you have to hold women accountable about what it is that they open their legs to, because the common narrative is always going to be, well, men decided to lay with her. Okay, so let's explore that. I'm going to break it down so that you fully understand exactly why it's important for us to hold women accountable, right? And I'm not even going to break down the whole idea where women control access to sex, because that's just a YouTube talking point, right? Or women control life and whether or not they want to have the kid or not have the kid. Cool, that's awesome. Here's the reason why it's very, very much important. Men, by default, are always going to be held accountable to society and according to society standards, no matter what. Once they find him and they find his real name, they will slap back child support on his ass in 5 seconds and take him to jail if he don't pay up or he don't come up with the money. They hold men accountable for men that's not even theirs. Even if you can prove that the child is not yours, if your name is on that birth certificate, you hit for the rest of your life. There are men that are being held in contempt and been sent to jail for not paying child support for children that they've proven is not even theirs, even if the woman put the man's name on the child or the birth certificate just so she can get government services. Men are held accountable regardless of whether or not it's their child or not. Just the very idea that you was in a room with that chick with your dick out might mean a Me Too lawsuit on you. Women can go and say that the dude slept with them and they're going to be held accountable. It's men that's getting out of jail today that's done decades and decades and decades in prison for accused things that a woman will never be held accountable for lying on that man. We seen Maury. It was women that went man to man to man and didn't even know who the baby daddy was. And they still holding these dudes accountable, right? So we just gonna remove that out of the conversation. We're gonna move that to the side really quickly. And let's just have a real talk, okay? Because you're never going to stop a bad dude from doing whatever it is that he want to do, but it doesn't mean that he's not going to be held accountable. And you're never going to stop a woman from sleeping who it is that she want to sleep with. The difference is that we don't hold those women accountable. You know what we do? We give them every leg up for being able to grasp and bring themselves up out of their situation and poverty. We give them government assistance. We give them child support. We give them more rights. We give them better interest rates. We give them every single leg up that they can possibly have, in addition to having a pussy and some titties to where she can get another simp to then come and take care of her and then marry her monkey kids. That's bad as hell. And then we say that men should still respect women in the same way, even though they've lived their lives in which they cannot be respected or they should not be respected in the same way. Okay.